Si has estado viendo nuestros videos, if you have been watching our videos, you have probably noticed that sometimes there are little thingies on top of vowels. Se llaman acentos ortográficos o tildes. They are called accent marks or tildes, and they don't just randomly appear. There are specific rules behind them, and knowing those rules will make your life easier when writing in Spanish. So, in today's video, I'm going to teach you las reglas de acentuación to help you boost your Spanish skills. Ready? Hola, te doy la bienvenida a Spring Spanish. Welcome to Spring Spanish. I'm Mariana, a Spring Spanish teacher and a language nerd who's really eager to help you disentangle how Spanish accent marks work. I know that most Spanish learners think that accent marks are somewhat scary and even pointless, but trust me, las tildes, accent marks, exist for a reason, and you need to master them to pronounce words correctly and to write properly in Spanish. So, if you want to improve your writing skills, watch this video until the end and subscribe to our channel to profit from the 5 weekly lessons we publish from Monday to Friday for free. No olvides dar clic en la campanita. Don't forget to click on the bell to get a notification every time a new lesson is up. Aunque parece que vienen de Marte, although they seem to come from Mars, accent marks are the written representation of stressed syllables, that is, the portion of a word where native speakers put a stress on when speaking. We'll go over some examples in a minute. There are languages where accent marks are written sobre las consonantes, on top of consonants. Thankfully, in Spanish, they are written on top of the vowels, that is, a, e, I, o, and u. If you watch my video about the vowels, the link will be somewhere around here, you'll discover that there are only 5 vowels in Spanish and they always sound the same, regardless of accent marks. Así que, como puedes ver, so, as you can see, it's already easier than you might have thought, right? Otra cosa importante sobre las tildes. Another important detail about Spanish accent marks. There can't be more than one per word. In French, you might come across words like this, where each accent mark is indicating a different pronunciation. Pero eso nunca pasará en español. But that will never happen in Spanish. Entonces, no te espantes. So, keep calm. I'll explain this step by step. Which words need an accent mark? Monosyllables are words that have only one syllable, and in Spanish, generally speaking, no llevan tilde. They don't need an accent mark. Some examples include yo, I, pan, bread, mes, month. Sometimes, however, we do need an accent mark to indicate that some syllables have a different meaning, although their spelling and pronunciation are essentially the same. For example, más, more, versus más, but, or tú, your, versus tú, informal you. Now, instead of trying to learn the rules as to when to add an accent mark and when not to, the easiest way to get them right is by memorizing them in the context of a sentence or a chunk. What are chunks? Well, they are fixed word combinations that native speakers use all the time and that you can just learn by heart because they will always be correct. Quiero más is an example of a chunk that you might read somewhere. So, if you learn the whole thing as a chunk with the accent mark, you will always use it correctly. Then, if you think of this chunk whenever there is more of something or whenever you want more of something, you will already know that you need an accent mark on letter A. Speaking of chunks, did you know that Spring Spanish has developed an innovative method to learn Spanish and other languages based entirely around the concept of chunks? It's called conversation-based chunking, and if you want to know more about it, check out the free Spanish chunking training on our website. All you have to do is follow the link in the description. Don't forget that accent marks indicate which is the stressed syllable. Words with more than one syllable may be either agudas, palabras, or esdrújulas. There is no translation, I'm afraid. It depends on which is the syllable stressed. Las palabras agudas stress the last syllable and need an accent mark when they end with an N, an S, or a vowel. For example, camión, truck, canción, sung. These two words end with an and the last syllable is being stressed. If we were to stress the first syllable, these words would no longer be palabras agudas. Instead, they would be palabras graves, and they would sound like camión and canción, neither of which exists in Spanish. Other examples include inglés, English, al revés, upside down. Again, the accent mark is indicating that the last syllable is stressed and they both end with an S. If we were to change it, the result would be inglés, which actually means groin and doesn't need an accent mark. The other result would be al revés, which doesn't exist in Spanish. And now examples ending with a vowel. Bebé, baby, café, either coffee or brown depending on context. In this case, both words end with a vowel and the stressed syllable is the last one. Changing the stress would result in bebe, which has a different meaning and is related to the verb beber, to drink, and café, which is not Spanish but German. Las palabras graves stress the second to last syllable and they all need an accent mark unless they end with an N, an S, or a vowel. So the other way around, al revés. For example, fácil, easy, lápiz, pencil, árbol, tree. Notice that it is the second to last syllable, the one being stressed. Otherwise, the pronunciation would be fácil, lápiz, árbol, neither of which exists in Spanish. Las palabras esdrújulas stress the third to last syllable, and again, they all need an accent mark on that syllable. For example, México. It's not Mexico or Mexico, but México. Música. Cuídate. Oxígeno. There's yet another category, las palabras sobresdrújulas. These words stress the fourth to last syllable, and again, they all need an accent mark on that syllable. Some examples include cuéntamelo. It's not cuéntamelo, cuéntamelo, or cuéntamelo. Cuéntamelo. Explícaselo. Fácilmente. You might be thinking, how on earth am I going to know which is which? There's actually a little trick to do that. If you want to discover it, leave a comment below. Whew. That wasn't an easy lesson, right? Luckily, when speaking Spanish, you don't really have to worry about spelling. Still, you do need to stress the right syllable in each word. But if learning these accent marks and the rules behind them isn't really your thing, our advice is that you listen, and listen to as much Spanish as you possibly can, and preferably read a lot as well. That way, tus oídos, your ears, will pick up the correct pronunciation and stress, and you will start doing it correctly yourself. Another benefit you'll get from listening to as much Spanish as you possibly can is that you'll discover a lot of the chunks I mentioned before. These chunks are key to speaking fluent Spanish without translating in your head. I won't go into much detail right now because that would lead us too far, but if you want to know more about our conversation-based chunking method and discover how it can help you master the Spanish language, follow the link in the description to get sample lessons from our academy. Thanks for watching and nos vemos!
Don't forget to subscribe.
give us a thumbs up and share this video with your friends.